76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Is that you? I'm the CEO of 5 different companies. I wasn't born into it. We lived on welfare, but I wanted more. I created this show, The School of Wealth, helping people escape poverty like I did. I want to help you out of that consumer debt, teach you how to increase your credit score, teach you how to make more money at your current job or your current business, and then how to actually create generational wealth without changing your lifestyle. It is going to be a lot of fun. This is not like regular school. Hey, I'm Ronnie Lambeth, and this is The School of Wealth. Hello and welcome to the show. Today I have a very special guest for you. A very good friend of mine that I've known for a few years now, and I met her through another friend of mine that I've known for quite a while. And today's show, if you have little kids in the car or if you're watching this on YouTube, I forgot to do this last week and put out that disclaimer. So if you have little kids, you may or may not want them on here. If they're, what do you think? Under what age would you recommend they not listen?
Probably under 6.
Under 6. So if you got kids under 6,
I'll try to
don't listen.
Okay, yeah.
Turn it off. So my guest today is Cammy Bowker. Thanks for coming on today, Cammy.
Thanks for having me.
So I just got home last night. I think it was around, 2:30, 3 o'clock. I've been going hard for the last month. I saw Cammy, what's that, 2 weeks ago, right?
I don't know. The days are blurring. Maybe.
I know. I think it was a week ago. So here's what I did. I left Sarasota. I flew to Sioux Falls. I spent 3 days heavy drinking, knowing that 75 hard was going to start yesterday. Then I went to Sturgis, and you know what happened in Sturgis.
Oh, boy. Hanging
out with my people, my motorcycle people, and did some more drinking. And then I drove to Bozeman, Montana. Did some more, and then I spent the day in Yellowstone, and then I actually started 75 hard in Yellowstone, did my first 2 workouts, one along the river, the Yellowstone River, and then one along Old Faithful. So I'm a little tired, but I'm glad to be here. So
I am too.
Yeah. So Cammy, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Cammy Bowker. I'm the founder of an organization that strategically fights child sex trafficking through education. So I started my organization thinking that I would build schools internationally. I went to school to be a teacher and a school principal, and I made my way into the country of Haiti to build them a school. And I went to the largest orphanage in the country, and I realized the kids there had been victims of sex trafficking. And the trajectory of my life completely changed. At that minute, I saw so many kids that had been sex trafficked, and I didn't know what that meant. And the last 4 years, I've been on research, about 4 years.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I've just been on a global research project, if you will, on what this monster is. And we work now, so my organization now works throughout the Caribbean and actually throughout the world, and then here in the US. We make sure that the victims that do get out have access to the resources that they need, because many times victims will get out and then go right back because they don't have anything that they need. And then we prevent it through education and awareness.
Okay. So this is the School of Wealth, and generally we talk about money and credit and taxes and insurance and all that stuff. And, last week I had a lady on that talked about her being raped when she was a very young girl, and how that changed her life, and how she's using that now as fuel for her business, and how she's helping other young girls and other people of sexual abuse. Fortunately for me, I was never abused sexually. I was abused physically. Some of my brothers, most of my brothers and siblings were abused sexually. So, it comes close to my heart. And you might be thinking, why do you have someone on here talking about sex trafficking on a financial show? And really, it's called the School of Wealth, and it's not just about how to get wealthy, but it's how to live a wealthy lifestyle. And on top of that, what you should be doing with your money. If you simply want to make money so you can buy shit, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And you'll never make a lot of money. You'll never be fulfilled if you do make money. And really why you should be trying to become wealthy, in my opinion, is so you can buy freedom for yourself and you can buy freedom for other people. And so that's why I wanted to have you on here, Cammy, was so my listeners can listen and maybe they can support your mission to buy the freedom of some of these truly sex slaves. As you know, I'm heavily involved with the orphanage in Dominican Republic at Advocates of Love. And, almost every single one of those kids comes from a parent that, their mother was a prostitute. And most of them are orphans at the orphanage, but not all of them. But it's the only one in Samana. And so it's really important to me. In fact, my company supports every single one of the kids at that orphanage. And anytime you purchase anything from Fortress Credit, a very large amount of the profits actually goes to the orphanage down there. So, but that's really why I wanted to have you on here. It was to expose us to it because our media is not doing it. They're covering it up because I think they're involved in it, and Hollywood's definitely involved in it, and the billionaires like Bill Gates is involved in it. I mean, look, Donald Trump was last week, right, that he just did an executive order, $415 million to stop sex trafficking.
Yep.
I didn't hear anything on the news.
Nope.
Was there anything on the news?
Nope.
Think almost $500 million. Think about it this way. What if he would have gone out and said, we're going to put $500 million out there to, I don't know, come up with some liberal crazy idea.
To get the straw, like get the straws out of the ocean.
Yeah, they would have gone absolutely bananas. Or if they'd have gone against one of their other agendas, like cleaning up the streets of LA, they would have gone crazy. But when it comes to kids, they don't say anything. And I think it's because the people that own those media outlets, the elites, the billionaires, and I think a lot of the newscasters are participating in sex trafficking. So what do you say?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I only will speak as to things that I have evidence for. I have my own opinion, for sure. And I would like to say I share some of the same opinions you've addressed, but I will just tell you this. I work directly with survivors once they get out. And many of them have indeed been with people in Hollywood that you wouldn't ever expect. So it is kind of hard to understand. I had a speaking engagement last night, and a question from the audience was, why doesn't this just stop? Why can't this just stop? And then the second question was, why can't the people that are buying sex with kids, why can't you just stop them? Well, it's not stopping because, from what I've seen, corruption is everywhere. Really, there's not a country that's exempt from that. So ours isn't exempt from it as well. And then why are those that are buying sex with kids not being stopped? There's no prosecution, really. So right now our organization is working to gather intel, gather stories so that we can help influence global policy change. Because the issue lies in the Johns, the people buying the sex, and then the prosecution for them once they get arrested. It's just nothing. They might get a little slap on the wrist and then go on with their merry way. But really they were, having sex with children. And so the trafficking rings are sophisticated. Some of the head leaders of these trafficking rings are terrorist networks and organizations. So human trafficking and organ harvesting funds terrorism on our soil. People don't understand that. And if it seems kind of strange that would be happening here, just put your brain around the fact that, could you imagine that almost in every neighborhood people could be doing drugs? Most people can understand, okay, well, there might be drug use everywhere. If there's drug trafficking, there is absolutely human trafficking. So it is in every neighborhood. There's no socioeconomic bias. It's funding sophisticated terrorist organizations, and it's also funding small trafficking networks. But the threat is real, and it's something that people just need to know about.
How much is a 10-year-old girl worth?
It depends where.
In that world, United States, what is it? A couple $1,000s, or is it?
Yeah, so about $1 million. So
$1 million.
$1 million. A trafficker can make almost $1 million on a child. So when you start to understand there is so much money to be made on a human, especially a child, the younger the child, the more money they can generate. So on average, they get about $250,000 a year per child on just sex alone. So they would be being raped, 30 to 40 times a day. Sometimes I've seen survivors come out with stories like that. But then the average lifespan once they get in there is 3 to 7 years. And then they get sold for their parts and organs. Traditionally, that's where it ends. I mean, sometimes they get murdered and different things. And so once you get taken by these dangerous networks, it'd be a lot easier if we would just talk about it with our kids than understand that if we don't, the threat is real. It's very serious.
You said it could be in every neighborhood. I live in the Boise, Idaho area, and that girl that I introduced you to last year, Juliet, she was in a foster care at age 7. Her parents died, and she was an orphan, and she was in a sex trafficking ring until she was 15 years old for 8 years outside of Boise. And I think she told me there was 9 or 10 kids in that foster care. And I spent quite a bit of time as a kid in foster care. So I fortunately didn't experience any of that stuff. But when her and I were talking, I could totally relate with living in a foster home and how that works. And so it can be anywhere.
It can be.
I spent the last 3 years in Las Vegas, and it's prevalent in Las Vegas. I know that to be a fact, that there's a lot going on in Vegas. And our good friend Pippa, and I know you and Pippa do a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
You guys go and do the raids in the tunnels. So let's talk about that. What is it the guys listening and the girls would they probably like to hear what you guys do outside of just the education side of it, and that's equally important. Obviously, I think it's probably more important to educate so it doesn't happen. But what is it you guys are doing behind the scenes, when you're not doing seminars and speeches and podcasts and stuff?
Yeah. We're doing outreach mission, intel mission, rescue missions. You referenced the tunnels in Vegas. I was just there last week. There's parts of our society, really dark parts of our society, people don't realize exist. We get really happy in our little bubbles in our lifestyle, which in some degree might be great, but in other parts, it's just, we have to be educated. You mentioned like, what is wealth, right? Like being, to me, as an educator, a wealth of knowledge, learning, wanting to know more, wanting to understand, having situational awareness, that to me is priceless, right? So what do we do when we're not, raising awareness, talking to groups of people? We go into the darkest areas of our society that most people don't think is real. And we have an outreach arm. So my organization brings outreach, whether it's in the Dominican Republic or it's in the tunnels in Las Vegas. And we're able to get intel and see where these kids are at, and they get to know who we are, and then locate missing children in the US. Yeah.
And some of the guys that you use, if you listen to the show, you know that I was part of a special ops team for about 15 years on a medevac helicopter. So I'm kind of in that world. But you use special op guys, and you use ex-military and police officers and stuff, right? So you guys Absolutely. Go in and physically remove kids, show up in black SUVs with black guns, dressed in black, and
There's
go in.
Wrong with black.
I know. Black bike. I was in Sturgis last week. A lot of guys wearing the shirts. Black bikes matter.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and it's hard. I'm a mom. I'm a grandma. It was easy it was easy for me my mind to understand when I saw it in a different country or placed it over there. Then I could maybe understand how to deal with that emotion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us disassociate with it, or the cognitive dissonance when you hear these sad stories, that it could not possibly be happening in your town. But I too don't live far from Vegas. And when I realized that it's like a third world country in some of those areas right underneath our noses, and there's absolutely some of the most horrendous suffering that one can imagine, worse than across the ocean. It really was a wake-up call. So we get this kids to their families if they have some. Unfortunately, like you touched on the foster care system, unfortunately, some of these systems we have in place are broken. And it allows for the victims to get reintegrated back into the trafficking life. So most children go back 7 to 15 times. And that's where we come in to make sure that they come out, that we're raising money for resources for them. They get out, they need a safe place, they need housing, they need food and shelter, they need mental health support, they need detox, and then they need access to education and trying to rebuild their life. Some of these kids, even if they're 13, and let's say somebody came in and busted the door down, and everybody in there got arrested, including the Johns that bought sex with them, including their fellow kids that are being trafficked. Everyone gets arrested and it breaks up, right? Well, until just recently, a lot of times they would get a 99-year sex offender status slapped on them, even if they were only 13. A lot of the laws and legislation have changed, thank heavens, but we're still fighting a lot of the issues with prosecution and things. So the reason I bring that up is there's a long hill battle after they get out of
Okay.
the trafficking world. It's a lifelong need for support, and that's where our
So
organization.
they were charging the kids with sex offender.
Because they're like, oh, you're a prostitute. No 12-year-old or 13-year-old wants to be a prostitute.
Yeah.
Nobody
How do
wants to.
other than like foster care, I mean, how do most of these kids get in there? Are they girls and boys that run away? Because I know I've seen specials a long time ago on HBO, you know, kids on the street, they'd run away and they moved to LA to become an actor. And then next thing you know, they're doing prostitution. Is that what you're talking about it? Or is it a darker thing than that?
That is definitely still a high risk population. You know, runaways. I have a few friends. The survivors become my friends that were trafficked to the foster care systems as well. So that is definitely the vulnerable community, one vulnerable community. But how it generally happens is the predators are contacting the youth online. So that's why at the beginning of the show you said, what age should we not, should we maybe have them shut it off? As early as 6 needs to understand that that's the target age. These predators online are looking for them. So
At
again,
6.
6 years old, we're talking sophisticated technology that's way more sophisticated than just our privacy settings that the game allows, that are trying to get to our children. In any game that has a chat feature, any game that has an online feature, the predators are having just a heyday talking to our kids, and the parents don't know. So that's more likely what's happening. 80% of the kids that go missing because they were groomed online first. So yes, that other population is still there, but 80% of the kids that get into trafficking were there because they were first groomed online.
Because they're kidnapped then.
Yeah, they become
They're
friends,
taken.
quote friends. They get blackmailed by the traffickers, and then they eventually agree for a meetup. So that's the majority of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they sometimes will groom them for maybe a couple weeks or maybe a year. I mean, their tactics are very tricky, and they also know who online would look more vulnerable. So our online behavior really speaks volumes. If we're posting and saying things that were really sad, or posting ourselves in, promiscuous behaviors, like they'll understand that you might be interested in just a simple little inbox that says, hey, you're really pretty, or hey, you're really cute. And boys are not extinct from this game. Just not long ago, there's 2 13-year-old boys in Las Vegas that we helped to get out. So boys are not extinct from this conversation. And they need to understand the threat is we're getting our butts kicked because online, where the parents aren't watching what's happening, and the kids don't know, and the parents don't know. And so it's the fastest growing enterprise in the world because it's happening underneath their noses and none of us know.
You'd said at the meeting that we were at, it's called Roadblocks or Roblox.
Yeah, it's
Which
called
one is it?
Roblox. So Roblox is a really common game. Most kids listening, or most parents or kids probably play it. It's really common. Minecraft is another one that's been this week, like this last couple of weeks, that's been the worst for predators. But there's so many. So like, for example, in Minecraft, their most recent tactics are that they'll pop up these sex mod rooms. So they'll break into the game or wherever they're hosting it, they'll hack in. And in the background is really violent pornographic things happening in the game. And so the kids just kind of get used to and programmed to seeing this. So like in a lot of these fighting games, they'll be like shoot 'em up games. I don't know what to call them.
Yeah.
There's programming in there. It's like different programming that kind of gets in. Same idea. And the kids get really used to feeling comfortable with talking about sex because they're being exposed to it.
Got it. What do you think's going to happen with? I got a massage this morning, and I was talking to my massage therapist, and she was saying that they've already closed the schools until next year, possibly. What do you think's going to happen with that? With all these kids at home, parents can't quit working. I mean, if you think about it, the average parent, mom and dad, if there's mom and dad involved, they got to go to work. And, you know, all my employees get to work from home. So it's not, I didn't really think about it until today. What's going to happen when you leave millions and millions of kids at home from 7 years old and on? What do you think
Yeah,
is going to happen with that? I mean,
I'm
have you
glad you
guys
brought that
even
up.
thought about that, addressed it?
Oh, yes. So one thing is this COVID-19 has stopped a lot of people's lives, and it's, you know, supposed to do it again. Sounds like it's already happening where you're at.
Yeah.
But it hasn't stopped the traffickers. In fact, they are growing. They're have the kids, their captive audience for 8 to 10 hours a day, where before the kids would be off the screens for some time. Now they have them whenever they want. And also we're noticing that the traffickers are getting more violent because drugs are running out, ammo's running out. Like, they're getting more aggressive. And so the threat is getting worse on our kids as we're locked, you know, they're locked unattended or left unattended in these screens, and they don't understand the threat. So they answer somebody on a messaging app and they make good friends with them. And they don't have to actually leave in order to be trafficked too. So this most recent case that we saw, this girl, this was in the US, not far from here. She was being trafficked on live stream from her house. So her family was being threatened. She was worried that, you know, live stream, but she would years before. So parents need to understand that they can't turn their heads because it could be any of our kids that this happens to.
Cammy, let's say that again because it cut out right there for a
Yeah.
second. You said that there was a girl that was being trafficked via live stream. So if you can start over right there at that section.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we have a girl that was trafficked via live stream from her house, right? We laid out the evidence and we saw that at the age 13, she started talking to what she thought was a child on Roblox. And she didn't actually go missing until she was 17. She didn't leave with the trafficker until she was 17. So we need to understand what's happening with our kids' computers then. But we could see she was talking to someone she thought was a friend. Looked like it was her age. And before we knew it, we looked at, you know, could have access and more aggressive with different men. She started getting the addiction, I guess, to a response to her photo. And then she started uploading her photos to Pornhub. Anybody can upload a video to Pornhub. So kids are doing that, getting paid for it that way. Then she got into a very, very dangerous network, and she started being forced to do live stream videos. And then she eventually went missing with the trafficker. And then we got her out. He got arrested. But
I have 11 siblings, and one of my siblings, it was about 7, 8 years ago when she was a teenager. So she's like, I think she's 22 now. So she's probably 13, 14 years old. And I remember my mom telling me that she's going to Vegas to meet some guy that he's going to make her a movie star and an actress. And I'm like, Mom, you cannot let her go. And she's like, she's just going to do it anyway. And somehow my mom got her not to go. But now she's like 21 years old, and I suspect she's doing something because I had my other siblings talking about some of the videos she's doing on TikTok, and then she disappears for days at a time, leaves her kid. And so I suspect something's going on there. How would you approach that? You know, she's 21 now, but how do you even do that? Or how do you approach it if you've got a 13-year-old kid?
yeah, so that's a really, really, really common scenario. So a common way for the traffickers to get to them, I've seen firsthand, men offering a modeling job. Like you said, I'm gonna make you move, give you a modeling job, come meet me. And sometimes they do start paying them, but they get so indebted to them that they are forced to do whatever they make them
Yeah,
do.
so they give them a little bit of money, give them an advance, if you will.
Anything they can do to get them in debt, then they have them. Even just a picture, a provocative picture that you sent them of yourself, even that can put you in debt to them. And they feel like they're going to manipulate you. That they tell the kids that they're going to send it to all of your family and put it online. And so my advice for parents would be talk to your kids and say, hey, if you send, because usually the first step is like a sexting picture. If you do this, I'm going to be mad. But if somebody starts manipulating you, please come tell me, I can handle it. Might be mad for a minute. But what happens is these kids are so mortified to tell their parents that it's tied to the suicide rate. It just like they have these stories in their mind that they think that my parents would never understand. So having the conversations of, you might do something that you think you shouldn't have done online, but me and your father, me and your mother can handle it, even though you might be upset. Please tell us. Because I actually, at my speaking engagement last night, had a girl that, because I said that, came up to me afterwards and was like, this is what's going on. And that was just a random shot in the dark. So it could be happening, and it is happening to more people than you know. And that's why I mentioned it happens in all the neighborhoods. Yeah.
I have a friend that she's in her 30s, and she had a bad breakup, and the boyfriend's like, I'm going to send all of our pictures and videos to your parents and your friends, and I want to post online and put it on Pornhub. And she was petrified.
I believe that.
And she's in her 30s. I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine a girl in their 13, 14, or a boy,
Imagine
thinking
they
he's,
their school or something.
yeah, imagine a young teenage boy thinking he's talking to a girl, sending pictures, and finds out he's talking to a dude, and what would happen with that. So,
Yeah. And so, tell them, say, hey, fine, do it.
yeah.
Half the
So
time they won't.
how do we get involved and support you?
Oh my gosh, thank you for asking. We are trying to build an army right now. So we're building an army of educated citizens. We really want parents to hear real life stories. I have my own podcast, listen to that, or go online and start researching this stuff. It sounds like you've already done some research, so you probably know a little bit more than just the average listener, but I urge you to go on to, if you want to go to globalep.org, we have information there for people.
Hold on. Globalep.org.
Yeah.
Globalep.org. Okay.
Globalep.org. Also, we have a new toolbox anybody can have access to through our buddy Gabe Levitt. Thank you. Go to projectpearl.org, and you can have access to unlimited educational resources for your family. There's a family audit.
That was projectpearl.org.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So projectpearl.org explains our strategic fight. So it will give you resources for all of the parts that we do. So we do prevention, extraction support, advocacy, reintegration, and then leadership. And there's even a spot in there for you to, right now we're updating it weekly with the most recent tactics of traffickers that we hear about. So parents know what is what. There's a family audit. You just log on, you put your name in, it'll give you like a confirmation email. There's a family audit to have with your kids, and it will say how to talk to a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 16-year-old. Where do you get started now? And I've got some really great advisors that have given me other apps. What are some apps parents need to have? Like Bark is awesome. So there's different things in Project Pearl. It's just one-stop shop for how do I help? Are you able to, do you own a business? Can you change all of your credit card processing system to PlatPay? You go to getplatpay.com/globalep. They'll donate money. It will take no more money out of your business. So it's get PlatPay, like Platinum Pay. Yeah. /globalep, right? That's an awesome thing you can do too. We need corporate sponsorships. You want to fund rescues. At our event, we were just able to raise some money so that we can go to the DR and help get children out and get them to resources. So people can help from anything from volunteering and collecting outreach to learning to become an operator to being an advocate in your own community. The projectpearl.org website has PowerPoints you can use. I don't care. Just take this information and go do your own public speaking. I don't care. I just want people out there talking about it, because all of these children that I've seen in my 4 years around the globe didn't know it was real. And that's why they got trafficked. So we are just creating a massive global campaign. There's some other cool things coming. If you know any one that can get us more exposure, we want to partner with them. We're working on a documentary. So if you know anyone that's in the film industry that's wants to sponsor our documentary, it's gonna be pretty bold but powerful. And awesome. we're targeting the teens. So this initiative is going to be targeting the teens so they can be advocates instead of going, okay, mom and dad, so
right.
So they can do lots of things.
Okay, awesome. And then do you have any type of education system for the kids? Like what our friend Jeff Ham has, where he teaches inmates felons how to become entrepreneurs and, go out and run successful businesses. Do you have anything like that to teach these kids how to maybe be an entrepreneur? Because that's what my friend Juliet did. At 18, she got out at 15. At 18, she sold her marketing company for $1 million. And now she's down in San Diego making millions more with other marketing company. But do
Yes,
you
we
have
do.
anything like that? Okay.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of was the beginning of my story back in Haiti. When I saw what these kids in the orphanage had been going through, I realized they're going to age out of an orphanage. And then what? And then what?
Yeah.
They need to learn how to
Yeah.
be self-reliant and run a business for themselves. So we started a small business curriculum. And then we started a tile program for them, electricians program. So that's in the villages. But here, there's an underground kind of network of aftercare centers and vocational trades for them to have access to. So,
Okay.
and we also you do scholarships for them to go to those higher education. But it's really, really important that they learn how to be an entrepreneur, that they don't need
Really,
to. Yeah.
yeah, that's something I did with the orphanage. I bought them all brand new Mac computers and sent them to them last year. And on one condition was you have to teach the kids English, because they weren't teaching the kids English. I'm like, I will send you computers for every kid, but you have to put Babbel or something on there to teach them English. So that's really
That's
important.
so
I'm glad.
important.
Yeah.
I did that same thing at that school in Haiti for these kids.
Yeah.
I bought them a computer lab. I bought them all computers. And then guess what?
Yeah.
They don't have any electricity. So guess what we had to do? Go back and put
Gotta go
solar
to-
energy on the
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
So
it's a problem. But I think as we build an army, we can start making a difference in our own community, because right now people have their
okay.
blindfolds on.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all those links. I'm going to have Chastity, my producer, write down all the links. And then if you could also email everything to me in case there was something you forgot, and then we'll put those in the show notes. So if you are watching this on YouTube, click the button down. It'll be down there below. All of Cammy's information will be there. If you're on a podcast platform, it'll be in the show notes there. And then outside of globalep.org, where do they find you on social media?
Global education philanthropists. I know it's a lot of words, but I want to make you be a philanthropist, right? Like everything that we're given, all the money we're given, all of the blessings that we're given are not for us. I truly believe that. I believe that it's to be a philanthropist. It's to help God's other kids. So everything that a philanthropist is somebody that wants to change the world, right? And so global education philanthropists, but on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Cammy, it's been great having you on here. Can't wait to see you in like 90 days or so, unless I see you before then. And we're going to rock 75 hard. We are on day 2 of 75 hard. If you guys are listening, don't know what that is, go to my friend Andy Frisella's website, 75hard.com. It will change your life if you do it. Promise. Guaranteed, if you complete it, it will change your life. So it's been great having you on, Cammy.
Thanks for having me.
As always, if there's anything I can do, my listeners, if you guys are listening right now, if there's anything I can do for you, please reach out anywhere online at Rondi Lambeth. I'm super easy to find at Rondi Lambeth, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you find. So, all right. See you later, Cammy.
Bye. Thank you.